Alright, so with LOA ON coming on within the next week, probably days by the time I actually release this video, it's a good time to yap about kind of what I would expect to see and also what I want to see. But I have to be a little realistic here because the major issues in the West are not the same issues KR has, so they're not going to be addressed in LOA ON, which is something that is addressed for the KR community. So bringing up things like botting, RMT and all that stuff, that's absolutely useless because a lot of that is already taken care of in KR because they have like the whole social security thing. And also, unlike AGS, they're not afraid to shoot people with a perma. So let's start off with one thing that I think for sure they're going to talk about, which is the Elixirs and Transcendence Nerfs. Since it is a power system that people are still currently interacting with, I think this is a higher priority. So a couple weeks ago, I actually talked to Double a little bit about Elixir changes, kind of throwing ideas back and forth. So here are the things that me and the homie kind of threw back and forth. The first is, get rid of purple elixirs, they stink. I don't mind that the same power system is in normal and hard difficulty together. I just don't like it that your progress that you do on normal is probably going to be overwritten by what you do on hard. There aren't going to be that many people getting 40 set purple, and chances are when you roll your legendaries, you're probably going to be replacing purples anyways. So even though they are technically the same power system, you're still overwriting your progress. When they got rid of Brel Relicure and transitioned it all to Ancient, I thought they were going to just do away with that design of keeping the rewards different from normal and hard, but then they pulled the elixirs. I don't know, it's a weird and inconsistent game design choice and it stinks. And also I think that they should just make elixirs like they have armor sets. And what I mean by this is to allow you to switch between any elixirs. There are classes with engravings that run, one runs critical, one runs master. AT and Evo are like that, for example, for Scouter. Supports can use any of the three sets. Why not let them switch? It is overall just a very annoying limitation to it, but on top of that, if they made it so it's just, hey, this is the thing you roll, this is a set helm slot and then this is a set glove slot. Now suddenly you're getting rid of the chance of rolling Luminaria on a DPS or rolling critical on a support. If you combine them all and then redistribute the RNG for the set piece to be higher, I think that would eliminate a lot of the problems with it, along with just having them be interchangeable, swappable. And honestly, I think they should actually just delete a line. So instead of you picking 5 choices, you pick out of 4 choices. And with the increased chance of getting set pieces, I don't think people would really miss that extra line. That's probably just going to be like resource blessing anyways. But the idea of this change is to really reduce the spread of RNG throughout the 5 options down to 4 options. This will allow you to keep the overall design and mechanics of doing elixirs the exact same. But this change would allow people to make a lot more usable elixirs faster, meaning they're going to save gold by cutting less. Because while I'm not opposed to a gold nerf, I would absolutely enjoy a gold nerf. I do think with a higher chance of getting what you want and also less variance on stat spread, you will just save a lot of gold in that regard. Now, since I'm a broke boy and I haven't done hard mode yet, I don't really have too much feedback on Transcendence. I can only go off by what I hear from other people. But I will say this, when it comes to Transcendence, I'm not as bothered by the idea that hard mode unlocks later levels of Transcendence, because when you're unlocking different tiers, you're not really getting rid of the progress you made in normal mode. When it comes to kind of making the rewards different between normal and hard and just kind of incentivize people to doing hard, I think this was one of the better ways to do it. But I think over there in KR especially, I think now would probably be a pretty good time for them to stop locking the later levels under hard mode. And this is because in KR, now they're going to be phasing out Theamine soon. It's not going to be a Final 3 raid for too much longer probably. So I think to allow people to get the power to move forward a little bit faster, I do think that maybe they should just have it fully unlocked from a normal clear. When it comes to the actual Transcendence process itself now, I don't really have too much feedback on that. I mean, yes, I would absolutely take a gold nerf, maybe even on the raw tabs or just the reroll item. But the actual mini game itself, I can't really say because I haven't done the later levels, but I have heard it is pretty rough. So I think a minor change that would make a huge difference still would be actually upping the rate on Blessing. So while you actually keep the minigame the same and all the same design, you don't really have to change too much besides upping the Blessing rate, which giving people more turns is more likely for them to get the desired amount of points, thus needing less rerolls and thus reducing gold cost. Now, I really do hope they address Third Awakenings this time around. Yes, they did before, but I hope they're just not like, hey, it's coming, and then they just make us wait for a very, very long time, and then NA is dead before we even get it. Like, I'm pretty sure KR has been blue-balled on Third Awakenings since our launch, and I'm really interested to see how this changed up the game, like if it completely changes up classes, and also how it will affect things like Dominion set, for example. Now, a couple days after I recorded this video, ATK actually put out his own video about LOA ON. In that video, he brought up a really good point. Since they are working on the Third Awakening and it's supposed to be pretty impactful, this might mean we might not hear about a new class as LOA ON, but I'm hoping still that we get a little bit of a teaser at least. Now previously they did say they want to make it easier for you to play both engravings of your class, so hopefully we hear about that, and also that's another reason why I'm hopeful for a major change to Elixirs as mentioned earlier. Now, when it comes to entropy changes, I do think this is kind of like a third awakening situation where they're just kind of talking about it here and there, and it's going to be a while till it's implemented. So while I would like them to talk about it, I don't know. I don't know if they're actually gonna talk about it. Like, I think it might be mentioned at the end of Q&A, like, hey, yeah, we're still working on it, trust me, bro. But also, I don't think it's really a bad idea that they're taking their extra time on it. So making hasty changes and actually just implementing them could be really bad results. And I'm pretty sure their overall goal is to kind of raise the floor and probably normalize the ceiling a little bit more. If they delete or remove the set, there's going to be just major changes to these classes, so it's not something you just do on a whim. I do think and hope that they are mentioning solar raids. Now, I just recorded my solar raid video, which I should probably be posting before this, so you can watch that if you want my whole thoughts on solar raids. Well, technically my second video on solar raids. No, I do think there is a chance for honing nerfs over there in KR. Because their endgame is all the way up to 1640, I think there is quite a bit of gap, and I think that gap will maybe incentivize them to actually add in a honing nerf. Probably seeing 1580 or 1600 if they do a honing nerf. Because obviously they need to make money, so they can't just make it, you know, super juiced up and too easy. Now, sad news is in the past, they already said that they don't believe there's a support shortage. They looked at their 1640 API and they were like, yeah, it's fine. So yeah, that hope is over. And then obviously they're gonna talk about raids. I think it's the assault raids that they're trying to hype up now. So maybe they'll talk about that, a new Legion raid, new Guardian, maybe a new island. I don't know, I think they're probably not going to add anything that's kind of side content, like the MOBA mode, which they announced and showed off but didn't release. And it seems like in general, these side modes, these kind of different types of content just keep on getting shut down by the KR community and they just don't do it. And I think part of that is because this game has so much to do already and there's just so much fatigue that people don't have time for or care about doing just mini games on the side and just side modes. And then beyond that, maybe Helicon, and that's about it. And then the last thing, I guess, which I kind of just allured to now, is I hope they really do address fatigue, not only in raids, but also in daily content. One of my recent videos was how good a roster reduction would actually be for the overall health of the community and the game itself. And even now, I'm hearing that in KR, there is still a issue with fatigue. People are just feeling like there's too much to do. And really, we have proof of that. We have gate reductions, and they still plan on doing more gate reductions, as they've already said they're going to do tower next. And I think in the context of a game where you have 6 characters, or they want you to play 6 characters, I do think that a raid capping out at 2 gates is a pretty good number. At the same time, it is kind of sad to see them basically just delete content that they spent all this time out for the reason of fatigue. Because say you just remove 1 gate out of raid, then you're doing 6 less gates a week. Now, even if they just lower the roster down to 5, you're probably doing 6 to 10 less gates a week. But on top of that, since you're doing every raid 1 less time a week, and you're keeping these other unique gates that got removed, you're effectively slowing down the speed run to burnout, the speed run to really make people feel dull to the content because they've done it so many times. Because again, they're doing it 1 time less a week. And obviously the less characters you run it with, the longer and longer it's going to take you to hit this fatigue. So I do think there is a bit of a con to how they're addressing it with gate reduction as opposed to roster reductions, but still it is a welcome change. But I really do hope that they address it in just not only raids. I hope they help out the fatigue and daily content as well. Nobody likes Unas. Chaos should at least be down to 1 by now. I do not see rested as a proper solution, as you're still missing out, especially since progression is just so steep. And I think that's really about it. I think that's all the major topics that people are kind of thinking about or expecting to be talked about, or hoping that it's going to be talked about with LOA ON. Along with, of course, my personal takes on all this and a little bit of hopium and copium here. I think overall I am being a little overly positive when I'm talking about all this, because let's be honest, LOA ON has had a very bad track record of keeping people happy with it. Like, it's to the point that people are expecting to have like an apology stream and changes come in afterwards. So sorry boys if I'm not doomer enough for you. That video will come sooner or later, I promise. But that'll be it for this video. Thanks for watching, like, sub, hope you enjoy LOA ON, and let's hope we get some good news. Let me know what you're looking forward to or what you would want to see during it.